Hello everyone, so in this video I'm going to show you the most insane exploit that I have ever seen in a Horizon game in the 5 years that I've been playing and speedrunning the games. Now you might be wondering, well, why is it so insane? Well, this exploit will basically allow you to duplicate your entire inventory, which you can then also use to not only get a lot of resources, but get an insane amount of shards on top of that. It's just that good of an exploit. And don't worry, I will be teaching you how you can do this exploit for yourself. But do keep in mind this exploit might be a little complicated for some, but as long as you're willing to have a little bit of patience and pay attention to what I do and show in this video, then I'm confident that you can do this exploit yourself. So without further ado, let's get into it. Now this exploit is done using the arena, which you can find right next to the Memorial Grove. Now this exploit uses the stash in order to duplicate items. So before I start here, let me just show you what's in my stash so you can see what I'm starting out with. And in the stash you will be able to duplicate any resource, any tools, ammo, coils and weaves, and even strike pieces. Weapons and outfits cannot be duplicated as the game limits you to only one of each. So even if you try it, the game will always make sure you only have one of each of them. But again, you can duplicate anything else. Alright, so now let me give you the step-by-step on how you can do the duplication. So first thing you want to do is head to the arena, and then you want to start any challenge where you have your own loadout. So make sure it's one of the challenges that does not give you a set loadout. In this example I chose Pack Hunters, which is the first arena challenge in the game. So from here you want to drop down into the arena and head over to this left corner that I'm looking at right here. Now I highly recommend that you have a smoke bomb on you, because the machines might try to attack you when you get to this corner, so throw down a smoke bomb. Then you want to start doing infinite jumps to get out of the arena against these invisible walls. Now there will be a couple of invisible walls to get over, you can even see me running on top of one here. But just keep following the way I'm taking to get out of the arena. Now, if you don't know what infinite jumps are, then in my last video I covered all about infinite jumps and gave a tutorial on how you can do them yourself. So check out that video if you want to learn how to do infinite jumps and exactly how they work. Link to it will be in the description below. Then once you're over the final invisible wall here, you can drop down and then you can start moving freely around the open world again. So just get a little bit of distance from the arena and then call in your Sunwing. Then you want to simply fly south of here or follow the direction I'm going. So out of the arena I'm going straight left. Now you can also go on foot in case you haven't unlocked the Sunwing yet in your playthrough, but obviously this little trip will be a lot faster if you do it on a flying mount. Now you want to fly straight towards the settlement that you can see in the middle of the screen right here. And then you want to drop down because there's a stash down there we can use to duplicate. Now a little bit of an interesting side note. When you're in this state of the game where you failed the arena challenge because you got too far away and you can see the time on top of the screen is paused, Elkjaer is actually invincible. Because in this state of the game, Elkjaer is programmed to not be able to go below 1 HP of health, so therefore it is impossible for you to die. But that's an interesting story for another video. Now once you get to your stash here, you then want to take everything you have in your inventory and put it in the stash. Or more specifically, anything you want to duplicate. Because everything you put in this stash right here will be duplicated using this method. So put whatever in you feel like, or just do your entire inventory like I'm doing right here. And just a reminder, weapons and outfits cannot be duplicated because the game hardlocks you to only have one of each. Now if you want to duplicate a specific resource, machine part or maybe weapon coil, make sure you go and get at least one of them before you start the arena challenge, because that way you can then duplicate them over and over again. Now the resources I'm showing you here were just the ones I happen to have on my save file. For example, this cute little claw strider piece was the only strike piece I had on the save file for this recording. Now once you're done putting everything in your stash, then you can call your mount and fly back to the grove. Again, you can do it on foot if that is not an option to you. Now while you're in this state of the game where the arena challenge is just kind of frozen, you can't open your map, and as you can see there's no navigation bar on top. So if you have a little trap finding your way back, just look for the mountain that you see in the distance right there. That's what I use to navigate my way back to the grove. Now when you're here, just make sure you're not too close to the grove when you want to get off the Sunring here. Because if you're too close, sometimes Elkjaer refuses to jump off. But once you're back here again, you want to head into the maw of the arena, and then you want to start another arena challenge. Because this will get rid of the bug state that the current arena challenge is in. So just choose the same arena challenge that you started with, and then as soon as you are inside this arena challenge, you can just skip the cutscene, and then you want to pause the game and abandon the challenge. That gets rid of the bug state the game was in. It also happens to give you back all of your inventory that you had when you started the arena challenge, because the arena is programmed to always give you back the resources you used, meaning that everything we just put in our stash is now back in our inventory, as you will see right here. So as you can see, all the coils, tools, ammo, resources, and even the strike piece that I put in the stash is now back in my inventory. And the good news is that all the stuff I put in the stash is still in the stash, because the stash, is programmed to keep the stuff. So if you now go over to your stash, you will find all the items are still there as well, meaning that they have now duplicated. You can then take all the duplicated items out, so you all have them in your inventory, and then you can repeat the process again. And just to show you here, when I open my inventory after taking all the stuff out of the stash, you can now see that things are duplicated. Of course, some stuff you can't really see because there's a limit to how much you can carry in your inventory. But the duplicated stuff is still in the stash for that. So for example, the tools right here and the ammo can only carry so much of it, so the rest of the duplicated stuff is still in the stash, but it's still duplicated nonetheless. And now that you have all your duplicated stuff and all the original, you can head back to the arena and duplicate it all again. Basically, do it as many times as your heart desires. Now, just to make it a little bit easier for you, let me give you a quick step-by-step on how to do it. So first things first, start an arena challenge where you have your own loadout. Then head over to the left corner of the arena or the west corner of the arena and infinite jump out of there. Then once you're out of the arena, make sure you get a little distance from it, then call a sunwing or walk on foot to the settlement that is a little bit south of the arena. Then once you're at the settlement, open up the stash and put whatever you want to duplicate into the stash. Once you put everything in the stash, head back to the arena. In case you're wondering why we don't just use the stash back at the arena, that is because the stash is not spawned in while an arena challenge is active. Once you're back in the arena, start the same challenge that you begin this with. Then once in the challenge, immediately abandon it. This will leave you with all your stuff back in your inventory and all your stuff duplicated in your stash. Then head back to your stash and take out all your duplicated items so you can duplicate them once more. Once you're done taking all your stuff out of your stash, you can then open your inventory and see all the items you duplicated. For example, look here at the coils. Especially this fire coil, it went from 4 to 8 to now 16, so it actually multiplies exponentially. So what this means is that things will basically keep multiplying. Or to put it simply, if you have one coil, it will become 2, then 4, then 8, then 16, 32, 64, 128, and so on. So in other words, you don't have to do this many times before you have a stupid amount of coils. Or really any resource. As you can see here, I was also able to do this with machine parts. So yeah, you can duplicate things pretty quickly. And if you're wondering if there's an upper limit to just how much you can carry in your inventory, well, there seems to be a limit of about 10,000, as you can see on the pictures right here. In the stash, however, there seems to be no limit, as you can keep going beyond 10,000. I'm not sure what the limit is, as nobody in the community seems to have reached it yet, but it could be quite high. So even though the multiplication stops at 10,000 in the inventory, you can still keep duplicating from there, if you for some reason need more than 10,000 of a particular machine part. But hey, I won't judge. So how do you make a stupid amount of shards from this? Well, this is obviously fairly simple. After you have duplicated your items a couple of times, then simply go to a merchant and sell some of it. I strongly recommend that you sell stuff after you have abandoned the arena challenge. That way you can sell all the stuff in your inventory that you want to make some shards of, and then you still have all the duplicated stuff in the stash. And of course, if you want to get all the stuff back that you're just selling, well, you can simply take it out of the stash and then duplicate it again, and then you're back where you left off, but this time with a lot more shards. And you can see just the stupid amount of shards you can make in almost no time. This is me selling just my coils and my weaves after I duplicated them 3 times, and it netted me around 200,000 shards. And of course, the more times you duplicate, the more shards you can make from selling. Just to get that point across, here's a video of fellow Horizon speedrun community member Oruga selling an inventory where he has almost 10,000 of every single coil and weave in the game. And this sale netted him around 81 million shards. which is just a stupid amount, and keep in mind he only sold his coils and weaves. Imagine if he's also sold his resources. So yeah, you can make a stupid amount of shards with this. Now if you're going to do this trick yourself, I highly recommend that you create a manual save before you start duplicating. And if you want to be extra safe, make sure you make a manual save between each duplication attempt. Not that things should go wrong, but you never know when you're playing around with glitchy stuff in video games. Things could go wrong, so just be on the safe side and make a manual save for yourself. Now, before I end this video of this super overpowered glitch, let me balance it out a little bit by showing you a way you can really underpower yourself. So when you're doing melee pits in the game, you might remember that the game gives you a really weak bow whenever you're doing any of the practices here. And there's actually a way to get that bow to be permanently in your inventory, because normally you only have it when you're in the melee pit. So what you want to do is start any of the trainings where you do have the bow, and then go back here to the back side, and then do an infinite jump out of the arena. And then you can see here when we get to the merchant, I can just show you the 100 training bow right here, and it does literally 1 damage. Now the way you get it is by selling it to the merchant here while you're still in the melee pit, and then we can buy it back once we're done with the melee pit. Now it can be a little bit tricky because you have to end the melee pit to come out of it, and you can't just go back and talk to the guy. Also, as you can see, because we sold our only bow here, we can't just infinite jump back in. But the good thing about the melee pit here at the bulwark is that there's a pretty tall section right next to it, so we can simply jump in over the invisible wall and land back into the pit. From there, all we need to do is talk to the pitmaster and end the challenge. From there, you can simply head back to the merchant, and in the buyback menu you will find the 100 training bow, which you can then purchase and have in your inventory forever. Which can be pretty fun to play around with, especially if you want to challenge yourself to take down a big machine with a bow that does literally 1 damage. So I guess now you have both a way to really overpower yourself and really underpower yourself using these exploits. At least you can do them while infinite jumps is still a thing in the game. Because as I mentioned in my video about infinite jumps, I do believe it's only a matter of time before they're patched out of the game, because the glitch is simply too broken to stay in the game. As I'm sure you would agree with if you watched this video and my infinite jump video. Now, if you want to take full advantage of these exploits, I highly recommend you do so as soon as possible, because again, it's probably only a matter of time before the infinite jump gets patched out. And should it get patched out, well, then I guess the hunt is on to find a way to get out of the arena without infinite jumps, which could potentially be possible somehow, but it'll probably take a while before somebody finds that out. But if you don't have time to take advantage of these exploits now, I also recommend that you turn off the internet on your console, that way the patch cannot install until you want it to. Now I want to give a quick shout out to MrPantsFancy, as he was one of the main people behind this exploit and figuring out exactly how it works and testing everything. So shoutouts to him for the work he put into this. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I will try my best to have more videos out about the exploits you can do with the infinite jumps in the next coming days, because I would like to have as many of these videos out before it gets patched out of the game, because I'm just really enjoying playing around with this. And it's pretty fun to see just how broken the game is once you can just do a little trick to get around a few barriers. But anyway, I hope this video helped you out. If it did, a like on the video really helps me out. And if you're new to the channel and want to see more stuff like this, consider subscribing. Other than that, I hope you have a good day. Take care.